Let's make one thing clear. This is not the Somme.
Careful, sir. Yes, please.
Only those who were there would truly have known. I'm with a living history group of the Royal Warwickshire Regiment who are spending a very wet weekend in replica trenches reenacting life as a World War I soldier.
Gas! 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 Gas!
Of course, this is just a reenactment, but it gives you some idea of what it might have been like. The trenches at Park Hall Farm in Shropshire were opened to the public only last year, and this reenactment is one of those held across the country by the group. Their leader, Sean Featherstone, hopes the event will educate both visitors and volunteers.
I hope they see the human aspect, so they can see what the soldiers on both sides endured. The smells and the sound. You're in a hole in the ground, it's muddy, it can get cold. It's not glamorous.
I do this in memory of my great-uncle and my great-grandfather who served in the First World War, to try to understand something about what they went through.
Let's get a bearing, get the range.
It brings to life what most men and women actually died for in the actual war.
One member motivated by family history is Lee Bond, who plays the part of the chaplain or padre.
My grandfather was captured on the Burma Railway, worked alongside the padre, and that gave him faith to be able to get through some of the darkest times. And as my thanks to God and my Christian beliefs that he gives me, I'm inspired to take that role of the padre on. The padres would pray with the lads in the trenches when they went round. They were armed with their faith.
Over 5,000 chaplains served during the Great War. 168 lost their lives.
The padre would actually go over the top with the boys when the charges went against the enemy.
Unarmed?
Unarmed. All he would carry would be his walking stick and his Bible. Padres actually received Victoria Crosses on more than one occasion. I now receive them as my personal savior. Nowadays we have soldiers come back and they can go to therapy and they can go and sit and talk to psychologists. There was no such thing in those days.
Help us to think wisely, to speak rightly, to resolve bravely.
Faith was a very, very important and integral part to life on the front. A shepherd wouldn't leave his flock. A padre wouldn't leave his men.
Has doing this reenactment had any impact on your own faith?
It's made it stronger. Even though we're carrying out a reenactment of the true events, there's guys that are within our units that say they can't understand the horrors of the world and how God would let something like this happen. And what I've tried to get through to them is that they can take faith in each other, and they are part of a church whether they know it or not. The true church is the people, and each person is a building block, and the mortar that binds us all is our faith in each other and our love for each other. And it makes my faith stronger because I get to see an element of people that is good, and that makes all the difference in the world.
as a stark reminder of the thousands upon thousands of lives lost during the Great War, there are cemeteries and memorials scattered across the Somme region, hundreds of them, each immaculately maintained as a tribute to those who rest in peace. Earlier, we learnt the fate of the young Maurice Bickersteth, who was killed on the very first day of fighting in the Somme. By the end of the battle, there were more than 1 million casualties on all sides. Maurice's great-great-nephew, who shares his middle name, is here to see his ancestors' final resting place for the first time.
So how many men are buried here, Alan?
It's about 300. This is what we call a battlefield cemetery. We've now entered Queen's Cemetery, and this is where Maurice is buried. And he's buried just by the Cross of Sacrifice.
It's a strange mix of emotions. When I first arrived here, I felt relieved that I'd finally come, because I felt so guilty that I hadn't been here sooner. But then it brings up so many other emotions of so young. All these guys here, so young. So sad. But at the same time, he was also devoutly Christian. And I think that saw him through right to the end. His belief took him through right to the end. I mean, I doubt very much that in my life I will ever be able to exhibit bravery and selflessness in the way that he did, in the way that all of these guys did.
James has a copy of a letter that Maurice intended his parents to receive if he didn't make it home.
I just wanted to tell you that I do not fear death, except insofar as everyone must fear it. Death, to my mind, is simply a gateway through which one passes into life. I mean real life.
And James, this arrived just after he had actually died, just after the family had heard the news of his death.
Absolutely, and I think this probably brought a huge amount of comfort to them and really helped with the grieving process. They were as devoted to the Christian faith as Maurice was, and I'm sure that receiving this letter really helped to heal what must have been terrible wounds caused by the loss of their son.
They must have felt he was talking to them.
Indeed, I think they probably did.
Drive